Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That order is not accidental. It is not possible to love correctly without being first transformed by love. Love demands discomfort. Look at how Jesus died. Religion really wants rules, because rules allow us to have tidy lines. Who is on the right side, who is on the wrong side? And Jesus is like, I am this side. If you look at the picture of love that Jesus presented, Jesus never, ever turned anyone away.
The church can't do that, actually.
The church is so unprepared for the answer to its own prayer.
The church is known more for what they hate.
Oh.
Hi guys, you're welcome today again to our podcast, the Fragility podcast, the Now. And for me, I really think every time we sit, I always want to bring people that I know capture the heart of God, capture the heart of the society, capture the heart of what it means to be awake and aware. People who are helping others recover and rediscover something unique about humanity. And this podcast is really about stimulating your mind to think through stories and conversations. We want to unlock for you possibilities and the potential of your own soul. It's going to be healing sometimes. It's going to be radical awakening another time. Sometimes it's going to be an unlearning or a relearning or a learning. Our guest today is Olutimehin. You're welcome today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're here. But your name changed, so I want us to start with that because you've done an amazing work. I remember that in 2017 TED Talk you gave that was very, very interesting. I remember watching that, but that was not the name you're using now. It was Adebeye.
Yes.
So the journey from Adebeye to Kukui, and tell us how that journey and what was changing while the name was changing.
Oh, that's a very juicy question. So, my father is called Kayode Adebeye. I was Olutimehin Adebeye for 20... Oh, a lady never reveals her age. For a while. And then I started to feel a nudge in my spirit about a possibility that existed. So my grandfather, my mother's father, was called Oludoto Adekunle Kukoyi. And he had 6 children, 2 of whom were boys. But the family lost the youngest son in a plane crash in 1996 before he could have any children.
I think that was a plane from Port Harcourt to Lagos.
Yes, it was. Wow. It was an
ADC.
It was an incredibly difficult time for the family because ADC was owned by our cousins. So the tragedy was, it shifted a lot of things in the family. And then my other uncle, who is now the head of the family, doesn't have any biological children. So essentially the family name would have died out in my mother's generation. So a few years ago, I started to feel something in my spirit about continuing the legacy in the name. We all continue the legacy. The fact that we exist means that we continue the legacy, but there's something about a name. There's something about a name continuing. And being the person that I am, with very little regard for social norms, and being much more interested in objectives than in protocols, I thought it matters for this name to live on. It is a proud name. It is a good name. It is a name that has been used in service of people and to demonstrate possibilities, and it deserves to continue. So I decided to change my name, and I remember telling my dad, and he was like, "Well," I suppose being accustomed to the child that he has, he was like, prosper. He literally said the word in Yoruba is Aje.
Okay.
Which means, how do you translate Aji? It means prosper.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just, you will see profit in the thing that you are doing. The objective will be established.
Yeah.
And I discussed it with my grandmother as well, and she looked at me.
This on your maternal side or paternal?
On my maternal side.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
also very attached to my mother's side of the family, so there was sentiment there as well. It wasn't just purpose and power, it was also like, And so my uncle and my auntie were not pleased. They were like, no, you are an Adigbe. Like, yeah, well. But sha. So I took on the name also at a time when my life was, the life that I had built was imploding. The name also felt like a refuge for me. It felt like I was assuming an identity that I knew as a safe place. My grandparents' house, the family house, was a place where I spent huge chunks of my childhood in love, in laughter, in the understanding that I had a place there. So when the life that I had worked so hard to build started to really crumble around me, there was also the anchor of an identity that had essentially always been waiting for me. So it was purpose, it was emotion, it was refuge.
So it was literally almost like a rite of passage of some sort.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Because again, the meaning of the name captures something that I think, I have a belief that naming, it's divine. And sometimes we catch up with it. It's not that we give ourselves, we awaken to what is. So if I think about how the story of the Bible, you have a Jacob who spent his years living as Jacob. His parents named him that. And then he had this moment in the middle of the night, having wrestled with a being, and he woke up with a new name, and this time it was Israel.
Yes.
Right. I think in most parts, most of us have to come to life, rediscovering who we are. But I love the fact that you went home.
Yes.
A place that signified home, because self-exile is one of the crises, I think, in the modern world. First of all, we find ourselves more and more in all the things that can define us, and somehow they start to lose their power. But let's dial a little back to the version of you that you had to come home to. What was that journey like in going to a place and then discovering that this life I've built can't hold me enough? There is more to me. There is more in me than this platform, this persona, this brand has captured. And the courage again to say it's time to undo what I've done. But let's explore what that journey must have been for you.
Where to begin with this? So I heard a phrase recently. I can't recall what the podcast is called, but it's hosted by Lecrae. And he had Will Smith on it. And I remember thinking it wasn't on my bingo cards to receive insight from a Will Smith phrase in 2025. But he said something about the clifftop. And many of us are familiar with rock bottom and coming to the end of ourselves at rock bottom. I've experienced rock bottom, but the thing that changed everything for me was getting to the clifftop, realizing that I had everything I wanted. I had everything. I had lived to the furthest edge of my wildest dreams. And it could not hold me. It could not satisfy me. It could not sustain me. And I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the voices I was surrounded by. I didn't like the possibilities that lay ahead. And I was at odds with everything and everyone around me. I felt like I had made it all the way to where I thought I wanted to be, and we didn't speak the same language. We didn't have the same heart. We were in the same location, and I was so uncomfortable. I was itching internally. It was just like, get me out of here. And I think that was a hard cry that was really deep inside me that God heard. And maybe he had been waiting for. I feel like God...
Was it a build up to that point?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It was a series of events, losses and victories at ever increasing scales. And the victory would always outpace the loss. And I would still not be content. something would happen that would feel like a calamity, and then on the other side of that would be a victory. And I was still looking around, waiting for the thing that would be it. And I realized there is never going to be an it. I can keep extending this victory lap for as long as last year was a very interesting year for me, because I remember in the beginning of the year doing an unplanned tour of Europe and just thinking, I was in Greece on the water in Attica, and I had just been in Athens and seen the Acropolis, and I had gone from Bordeaux in France to Amsterdam, and I was going to go to Milan. It was just like I could go wherever I wanted and do whatever I wanted. And it was uncomfortable. It was just like, is this it? I was telling a friend of mine recently, I woke up on my last birthday, the birthday before last year. And I had a budget for the birthday that was quite significant already. And then I was like, you know what, let's multiply it by 10. Because why not? And that trip, I remember flying people. Oh. You think that getting what you want will satisfy you until you get what you want. And then...
Interesting.
I spent a lot of time in Ecclesiastes after this experience, because it just didn't make sense that my hands were full of every prayer I had ever known to pray, and my soul was starving, emaciated. I was starving inside. And God was like, all right, let's move in. Send the troops. So the journey of even becoming this person who I had named myself was an excavation. God was like, you've accumulated and accrued all of this that is so shiny, so attractive, so compelling to anybody on the outside looking in. But between us, you and I know
there was no resonance.
You haven't found it because you haven't found yourself in me. And so after sort of jumping all over my favorite continent, I can't believe I said that on camera. Africa is my favorite continent. My favorite continent to explore. God brought me home and sat me down. And for a year, he was just like, we're going to remove this, we're going to remove this, we're going to remove this, we're going to remove this. And I'm like, God, but that's who I am, and that's who I am, and that's who I am. And God is like, no, none of that is who you are. He removed everything.
Was that painful?
Oh my.
So it felt like a dark night of the soul.
The darkest. It was excruciating. And in some ways, on some days, it still is. Because I worked so hard, because I believed so deeply in everything that I was doing and everything I was pursuing. And so to wake up one day and realize that even I wasn't satisfied and God could just do this. I was like, oh wow, that ain't nothing.
But how do you know this place is it? And here is how I'm thinking about it. I'm also somebody who show up in life with all that I am and passion. So if A is all I know is right,
yes,
everybody A is it.
Yes.
Zero in, and I'll go hard. And one day I'll wake up in a season of my life, and it's like A is no longer what it is. There is a cry of my soul calling me out of this, and then suddenly a new season is unfolding. But sometimes I always used to say to myself, is this it, or is this a phase? Is this a phase, or am I passing through? Or have I arrived? Is this all there is? Like, I'm still trying to check now in this place where your spirituality has become the very source of your being, and you've had to strip away all the layers and identities you've carried for many years, and you're now coming to, who am I apart from all of these things? And I'm here, and I'm here, and is this just a stage and a place? But how are you processing the loss of friends, the loss of community? You had platforms, because at the end of the day, when people know you've made this switch, it's not just, it's a career danger even to Square.
Yes.
You still run Square?
No.
Shut it down?
No, we shut it down.
Okay.
Yes. We left Square. I left my job. I left my career, really. I think the difference is where I'm located now. We're always passing through.
Yes.
This is the definition of life. We're passing through. So there will be seasons and there will be changes. But to be located in God, to know that God has said, I have a place for you here. And I have said, I want the place that you have for me here. So now we're in agreement. Yeah. It means that wherever I am, wherever I find myself, wherever I am taken, wherever I'm led, my reality is Emmanuel. So there will be phases around me, but where I am in those phases is in God.
Okay, so here is the thing. I love the way you put it. It looks like identity has come home. So prior to this time, there was identities. But now this has come to identity. And I think the greatest defining thing is who we are without the labels. When we are with Him, yes. When we're alone with Him. And I think that's a good place. But coming to a place where identity, you've championed and you've written and you've educated people, men and women, about the place of feminism.
Yes.
You spoke about it from a place of impact about equality and equity,
yes.
Right? And even for people who struggle with this and their sexual identities, you also brought a certain level of like almost an acceptance, and you were a rallying cry, you were a clarion call, you were like embrace and become.
Yes.
And then most people survived their own dark night of the soul because you were, and your voice was what they anchored. Yeah. Now that voice has sort of moved and is in a new space, right? Are you sensing a need to build a community around this phase of discovery and reclaiming? Is that season presenting itself?
Not yet. Not yet. So there's a scripture that says that this is a bad paraphrase, but that we are predestined by God for good works, which He has prepared. So I understand that everything that I was able to accomplish with God's permission in my strength reflected the abilities that He had already given me, yeah, and the assignment that He had already given me. And there is not as great a disconnect between the life that I had and the life that I have as might seem to be. I'm still called to the same people. I'm still called to the same work.
But the message has shifted.
The message, has it shifted or has it found its true source? So there's something you said earlier about self-exile.
Yes.
And I want to add to it that there's a dynamic of unresolved pain that informs a lot of the work that I've done, that has been done in the feminist world, in the world of sexual and gender identity, sexual rights, gender identity. And because there's so much unresolved pain, the work that we do tends to collapse on itself. We get to the point where our success threatens the thing in us that is still wounded. And so inevitably we will cannibalize, we will eat our young.
True.
And it's not possible to create worlds that have space for the things we want, for the love we want, for the safety we want, while we are still wounded. And unfortunately, because so much of the work that we've already done comes from our pain, we're just going around in these unproductive cycles. Somebody has to get to the point where we say, I will be healed. It is only when you are healed that you have the capacity to birth a new thing. Until that point, you're recycling.
Okay, I think this is so powerful. I love that you're identifying that whatever we build from pain never truly lasts.
It doesn't.
And many people find identity even in their pain.
Yes.
And then there's something called trauma bonding.
Yes.
Where we get to build a fellowship around that pain and, weaponize that pain as a mission. Now, but let's even take someone, a young girl who is queer and 22, and she is maybe a Christian, and she is struggling and suicidal. And in your previous life, your message for her would be different. What would your message be now to her, the 22-year-old?
You can be healed.
What does healing look like?
Healing looks like allowing the one who created you to bring you into his creation. So when we're in pain, or I can speak for myself and say that when I was in pain, I tried to make refuge out of the identities that I embodied and to operate from those places. And what I discovered was that because I was still in pain, the relationships that I formed, the frameworks that I relied on, still attracted and amplified and multiplied pain. It was unconscious, but it was constant. So I would come into a community and give it my heart and my soul. But because I was wounded and the people who were around me in the community were also wounded, we would end up wounding
each other again.
We would end up wounding
like
each other.
Reaction.
It was, and then the thing would collapse, and we would be pointing fingers, and it would be this person's fault, that person's fault. But the thing is, we're all wounded. We're all bleeding onto one another, and nobody has the antidote. And nobody wants the antidote because healing is extremely painful. If you have an abscess, you have to... So it's easier to hold on to the pain that you know how to fashion this particular type of pain into a form of power. It's easier to hold on to that than to surrender all confidence in yourself and your abilities and to say, I did not create myself and I did not create this pain. If there is somebody who has the ability to transform it, it is not me. When we come into power while we're still in pain,
it's even more dangerous.
It's so dangerous. Because the power soothes something.
So I kind of like the picture of wholeness and healing because we don't talk about it. We brush it over. And so many things around us is hurting and bleeding, right? But for someone of that stature, I'm saying, okay, when we look at a 22-year-old girl and we say, now you lose your pain, or you turn your pain to him who can heal you.
Yes.
And then you stop being powered by hate or by anger.
Yes.
But again, on the level of their sexual attraction, if they are saying, oh, I've lost my pain, but I'm still attracted, what would that be in the conversation? Or if they said, I was always born this way, there was no pain driving me, no one twisted me, I wasn't trauma bonded, I wasn't trauma shaped into this identity. What would be your response in the way you found a space and a place to be, but you're called to this community, or even a feminist, one who has always looked at life through the prism of battle of the sexes. Now, the pain has gone so deep, right, and in such a way that a man has to lose for them to win. But I mean, somehow you don't very few people have the journey that you have worked, the journey of being here, succeeding here, and seeing the pain and the destruction and said, now I think we need a more wholesome platform and move this conversation on this wholesome platform. But as we move it, there's still a lot of wisdom that is required in saying, how do we call people to wholeness, but not sponsor an identity crisis that takes away from who they are, how they love, how they are in the world, how they show up in the world. So it's a very delicate space that I don't even know if I'm equipped or understand enough about the complexities of human nature to even speak to. But I'm happy to hear your unguarded thoughts, and it doesn't have to be fully formed because this is evolution. You're still picking and gathering and finding. But I'm grateful that even in the midst of the unmaking and deconstruction, you're still holding space to integrate and say, what would this look like here and there? Because they need voices too. And it's not just to come out and shut everyone out, but to find a way that everyone benefits from the evolution and the healing that is now possible in you and with you.
The answer, as cliche as it sounds, is love. The problem with the answer sounding cliche comes from us wanting love to be the thing we say it is, as opposed to the thing it has been made to be by the one who is love. It is not possible to love correctly without being first transformed
by love.
This is the thing that we were created for. When Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. And this is the fulfillment of the law. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That order is not accidental. We cannot properly apprehend love if we have not first received the love of God and returned the love of God to God. It is in that exchange that we begin to resemble God and then begin to develop the ability to love people as God intended and as God himself loves. If you look at the picture of love that Jesus presented, Jesus never, ever turned anyone away.
The church can't do that, actually.
The church is so unprepared for the answer to its own prayer.
Oh, that's interesting. What a church, if God has answered the prayers. Because again, there is a thing about church. We know that God is the love with which we love. Right? So nobody can really love except they encounter love. So, the church is known more for what they hate.
Oh.
Right? So, and that's the other side. So when your friends see that you tie your hair and you're in the holy place, they're like, oh, who brainwashed you?
Who brainwashed her? This is really interesting because this morning, as I was getting dressed, the Holy Spirit said, leave your hair uncovered. I said, sir.
Oh my.
I said, sir. He said, leave your hair uncovered. And I thought, why? And it's because our relationship with God is not about rules. We are in relationship, or we are constantly being invited into relationship with a living God who is living with and through and alongside us. Religion.
Yes. Is a better way to put it.
Yes.
And there's a difference.
Yes. Religion really wants rules, because rules allow us to have tidy lines. Who is on the right side, who is on the wrong side. And Jesus is like, I am the side.
I'm the side.
The side is me. Let them come. It is impossible. It is utterly impossible to encounter Jesus and not be changed. The woman at the well spent 1 hour in his presence. The person that came out with her bucket and the person that went back.
Two different things.
Everybody who knew her was like, babes. She said, I have met a man who told me everything I ever did. Hidden in that is, I met a man from whom I had no secrets and needed no secrets. What do you mean she will not change? But yeah, it's daddy that she sent her boyfriend packing, or the boy married her, we don't know. But you cannot meet Jesus
But you know, the interesting thing with that well is a self-discovery. So that's the thing about an encounter with God. Your illusions dissolve.
Yes.
So interestingly, if I have to write it, I would even title it The Man by the Well. Because everybody has to go fetching water.
Yes.
And there you meet him.
Yes.
So the woman will go, but the next person will come.
Yes.
And for every one of us, as you go by the well, it speaks of the metaphor for the well is that we're all yearning for water. And that water for our soul, we can think about it in pleasure. We can think about it in maybe power. People are seeking water. And culture gives us every different, maybe people, sometimes it's applause, it's approval. And in seeking that approval, you come to that. So the thing about, one thing I love about your version of spirituality, and I hope your friends will hear and see that they haven't lost you, they've gained you even more. And the reason why I feel that way, because I was concerned too, and I was hoping that it's love that has powered you. Right. And the beautiful thing about love powering us is that the Samaritan woman, for instance, didn't always belong. The Jews thought that they were terrible people. Like, you guys worship all kinds of stuff. Samaritans were flirts with religion. They were half Jews, so they married everything. So the Samaritan was actually embodied the definition of everything we hate today. Right? The church has issues with divorced people, single parents, queer people. So the church has all these labels. Right? And then Jesus comes to say, hey guys, he gave us 2 stories of Samaritan. One was about the Good Samaritan. I mean, how would you make the protagonist in your story the reject? The particular people that don't belong, you wrote about, and then he spoke about the woman by the well. It looks like we're trying to keep people that God is trying to bring in.
Yeah.
So the church needs to also heal, because you're a non-conformist. I know sooner than you settle here, you start picking up, we can't hate that. Hey guys, undo this rule. So right now, everybody's enjoying your honeymoon, like, oh, she loves the Lord. But by the time you settle, I say, who made that rule? I mean, I haven't got it there yet.
My church been shaking. Thank God for the pastors that he has set over me. But I know that I have confronted my presence in the church, my refusal to hide from the judgment or the culture of contempt that is so pervasive in the church has unsettled many. And there was a time when I thought, I don't have to do this. Like, I don't have to be here.
Wow.
But love is a practice. We have to get used to, we have to get good at being in the uncomfortable places. Because it is in the uncomfortable places that we enter into the depths of God that we have not yet plumbed. God is waiting to reveal his heart for transformation and for unification. And if we constantly avoid the discomfort of, I haven't yet learned how to love past this point. I haven't yet learned how to forgive past this point. I haven't yet built tolerance for someone being at a place that I don't understand. How will we get to God's heart for us to be one with him? There is no distinction. This is scripture. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, and by the special grace of God, I will add gay nor straight. We are all saved by grace through faith, not by works, lest any man should boast. Works are crucial because they have a specific function on earth. The Bible says, let your light so shine that men may see your works and glorify God. Works are for men to see so that God will be glorified. But that's not the point.
It's a byproduct.
So when we get good at being in the discomfort that love demands, love demands discomfort. Look at how Jesus died.
Yeah, but in what you just said, that even your presence in a conventional church is a confrontation to people's bias.
Yes.
But it's also an invitation to their healing.
Yes.
Because most
people mine.
And yours.
And mine.
Right? And removing yourself from from that uncomfortable experience might short circuit or limit the full spectrum of the healing the place is everyone is experiencing. So they're like, she's here. Why is she here? Why is she so involved? Right? Because at the end of the day, your journey with God, right? Most people will always define you by the past. And even Paul had his crisis.
Yes.
When Paul became a born again, they still saw him. Saul is here. Literally, he will enter into a service and will run away. Remember, he was kidnapping them and said that I know you're
Yes.
Yes. So they were like, Saul, a brother Saul. It took the church so long.
Yes.
They wouldn't accept him. At some point, he will enter. They're like, guy, please just be sure what you're doing. But I really think that in your own journey, what have you unlearned about religion and spirituality? Because again, they're two different things. So you find that our society, our problem is religion.
Yes.
The typical Nigerian is either a Muslim or a Christian.
Yes.
But then again, love is in short supply. Right. So we've not been able to show love. I'm still trying to piece it together in how we can really, really reclaim the true meaning of spirituality and find ways that our society can experience the beauty of the message you are experiencing. Because if love is the center of the message and peace is the center of Islam, see what's happening in Benue. When we talk about, in your other article, you spoke about, your presentation on TED Talk, you spoke about this belonging to a city.
Yes.
So actually, you have a calling of creating spaces for belonging.
Yes.
Whether it is actually an economic or it's an identity conversation, at the core of your heart is belonging. Right? But I wanted you to also talk about this absence of love that we have normalized. Whether we look at it in policy, today Periwinkle is a sprawling estate, all sold out, I guess. Right? More resettlement. So it's almost like the poor is not legit. They have no space to be. So let's move away from that sexual identities now, and we're not talking about even the economic situation. As a writer, you interrogated and sort of questioned how people thought about the place of the poor people in our society and how our dream of a mega city should not be an elimination. Rather, it should be an elevation of the poor people into society, not an elimination of them. But has that changed? Where's your perspective now with respect to our society as it is and the nature of leadership that continues to stir us?
That's a very broad question. I will start by responding to the point you made about elevating poor people. And I think because because those of us who have access to additional resources, to comfort, to options, find a lot of our safety in those resources, we forget that we're not in any way, shape, or form different from a person who's poor. Clothes, cars, houses, jewelry, those things are props. We're born naked, and until fairly recently, we used to be buried naked. Right? It's so when we have societies that are built on separation by resources, we enter into the illusion that there's a distinction between me and the next guy. There's something that is really terrible but very instructive about the US. The average US citizen is 3 catastrophes away from homelessness. You lose your job, you have a medical emergency, you lose your car, you're finished. And you will be on the streets for years. And I think that as unfortunate and tragic as that reality is, it's closer to the truth of who and how we actually are than what we have
in Nigeria,
here.
we're even one crisis away.
I feel like maybe because many of us have cousins, uncles, aunties, something, friends, it's like, okay, you can't sleep on someone's couch, something will catch you. We're so afraid of the reality that there is no distinction between me and the next guy that we will put all kinds of things and keep putting those things as barriers between us and people who are poor. And then because we're putting power behind those barriers, they become real. So poor people stay poor and people who have money get more. But what if we changed our relationship to these barriers? So we have a current political reality where education, which is one of the sure ways out of poverty, is being privatized in Nigeria. And those of us who are internationally mobile are like, that's what they're doing in advanced countries. People should get loans. But we're guaranteeing that people who already can't afford education will now also not be able to afford their lives because they've paid for an education. So we're further normalizing a reality where poor people continue. What if we just, as an example, I was sitting in my house the other day and I thought, we have scholarship programs. I've never seen anyone create a program that pays teachers additional money. So if the school fees, we'll have a bursary program that gives students, I don't know, $1 million. But if somebody decides to improve teachers' income, if you pick a school and improve the income of all the teachers in that school, the quality of education in that school goes up.
True.
Teachers are more likely to remain in that school.
So sustainability.
And then the people who go through that school system have a better educational experience, but also they are exposed to the reality that I can be taken care of by my community. Not me as an exceptional individual who has qualified for a scholarship because I'm getting all A's, but because the system that produces me and people like me is the responsibility of the community. I've never seen such a program.
Interesting.
Does
it exist in other parts of the world, though?
I've never anywhere seen such a thing. So we go and we say, okay, let's help poor people. And you pick 3 that are unusual and give them a ladder out of poverty. But the result of that is when they arrive wherever they arrive, now the black tax keeps them bound. Get 3 billionaires to adopt 70 schools and give it 20 years.
You know, it sounded like one of the guests that came yesterday, she spoke about Titi, that it would be nice for billionaires to do the same thing, but in our own context, adopt an industry that is underperforming and try to sit with it. So if you know that, creative industry in Nigeria is still more, the less you see, the more you look, right? The more you look, the less you see. That maybe somebody needs to sit down and create like a patient capital.
Patient capital, yes.
Underfunded. So, you know, the capital, you want them to turn over in 6 months, 1 year. These things do take time. So no one is wrestling that. But, you know, so I love that thought process about adopting a school, sitting with that school and waiting it out. But then the reality of the black person is that there is a deeper sense of I for me.
Yes.
So once we become successful, everybody wants to build higher fences.
Because of that illusion of separation.
Yes.
I don't think it's coincidental that some of the wealthiest people in the world, well, let me, as the French would say, precise the point. When people who come from underprivileged backgrounds become wealthy, I don't think it's coincidental that they move as far. Generally, they move as far away as possible from where they're coming from, because we don't feel safe enough in accepting that I'm not different from a poor person to remain in proximity to the poor person. And it comes back to the question of love. So if I understand that we're not that different and I experience myself as having access to more resources, if I get those resources, I will not use them to get out. I will use them to spread out. If I stay where I've always been and water the earth where I've always been, it is only a matter of time. Where I am will become a beautiful garden.
Yeah, I guess greater.
But if I take what I receive and I go where it's already green, then I'm confirming to myself I'm different from those people. I'm better than those people. I've cheated myself out of the opportunity to grow in compassion and understanding and transformative power. So when we have a mindset that says poor people are poor, rich people are rich, let's keep it that way, then we have a reality that continues to perpetuate that.
Itself, yeah.
But if you understand that poor people are people, rich people are people, and resources are resources that people need, it changes how we relate to resources. We stop building all these high fences. Because what I have is not just for me anymore. I don't need to protect it from you, that you will come and take it from me. If I've already given it to you, if I've already shared it with you, you won't take it from me. It's ours. It's so interesting that we live in a world now where people don't realize that we have alternative economic models than capitalism.
Yes.
It's just like...
And it doesn't have to be socialist.
It doesn't have to be socialist. It just has
I have a word
to
for
be.
it.
I want to hear it.
Conscious capitalism.
I don't like that one.
Okay, hold on.
It's still capitalism.
I really can't come up with anything else. But capitalism, in a sense, where you're placing a demand on the labor, entrepreneurship, and the relationships with it. But conscious capitalism is not using people as a means to an end, but using the profits for flourishing of humanity.
Oh yes.
So it's really that capitalism in itself is not inherently bad, but what we have seen practiced, particularly in America and exported to the rest of the world, is vulture capitalism. Is predatory capitalism.
Yes.
Is extractive capitalism. Is exploitative. It's really about taking and not creating those spaces. But conscious capitalism talks about oneness. Creating so that I'm building a company, but I'm not working, they're not working for me, they're working with me. So it becomes a collective thinking in such a way that we have to reimagine the concept of equity. We have to reimagine the concept of salary. We have to reimagine distribution, all of these things. And in this sense, you're not just thinking shareholders, but stakeholders.
I would even take it further and say, I like the concept of conscious capitalism. What I'm talking about is just sharing.
Okay.
It's sharing money, profit, industrial advantages, economic advantages are great, but they're not the only resources that we have. But when we live in a money-based mindset, it blinds us to all the other things that people are capable of contributing that are necessary. So a practical example I would give would be where I live. I live in a very lovely little gem in Lagos. I'm not telling you where it is. And it's one of the few developments that I've found that's very green, very communal. We don't have fences. We have a park. The kids come out to play, etc. We have a very nice range of junior citizens, senior citizens. And our greatest wealth is not the money that's present in the neighborhood. Our greatest wealth is our interest in one another.
Genuinely interested in one another. So there's a neighborhood community in Lagos?
I mean, it fluctuates, right? But money is...
It's a mindset.
It's a tool, right?
So here's the thing I think about the mindset. So what you might be getting to, I read a book called The Economy of Scarcity by this professor at Harvard. But in that book, he was talking about why rich people steal. It's very interesting because the case study was very African. Like, how can somebody who stole 12 billion steal another 200K? And he's saying that there is a sense that there is, when you're coming from poor neighborhood, people cultivate a mindset of scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it's not about how much they have. It's that they've been this injury of deprivation that has been done to them in such a way that they don't know, they don't have a stop button, right? And I keep saying we've been fishing for years and there's still fishes in the water. So nature itself has abundance.
Yes.
Scarcity is an invention of man.
Yes.
Right? And that concept of an invention of man, so we need to even reimagine economy and reimagine our terms and our thinking.
Do we need to reimagine or do we need to remember?
Remember might be a better word because we're coming from a generation where there was abundance. Today, men will soon start selling air packaged in sachet. Like, if they could do that, they would do that.
Yes.
Right? Water today is not free, but water is in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean,
even housing. There's so many things that we take for granted that we have to pay for that it's actually quite absurd that you have to pay for a place to live.
And expensively.
It's very absurd. If think 3-4 generations ago, You have family land. You have family compound. You and your age grade will come together and build something, and it's yours, and you live in it.
But these are the realities of urbanization, I guess. But I think in the rural communities, they don't pay for land rates. I have, like, my family my village is large, and my family has lots of land. I've never been called to say we're paying for land rates. You understand? I'm only hearing that somebody's trying to steal our land. But, but for the most part, I really think there is the scandal of the modern mind.
Yes. It's a very impoverished mind. It's very impoverished. It's so impoverished. There's a scripture, I'm doing very bad paraphrases, but there's something in one of the Gospels about being squinty-eyed. It's in the Message translation. Being squinty-eyed and how that darkens the soul. The King James Version is about the eye being a window to the soul. If the eye be full of light, then the body is full.
Yeah.
But the Message translation calls it being squinty-eyed. There's a way that this invention of scarcity creates the reality of scarcity.
Yes.
So we can't open our eyes or our minds wide enough to see that there is enough. There always has been enough. And there always will be enough as long as we agree. Once we agree that there is enough, suddenly there's enough. There's a principle in Islam, or maybe it's a surah, I'm not sure, that what is enough for one is enough for two.
There's enough. I think there's a paraphrase. There's enough for all our needs, not for our greed. There's a paraphrase to that. But you know what you're saying, I've met people giving this thought process about how we need to remember the first man was never employed. He didn't have to do 9 to 5. And then we're talking about the industrial complex. How the industrial complex created this illusion of reality. Take, for instance, in America, the ARM, the gun, the makers of the guns, they are the big sponsors of politics.
Yes.
I mean, they fund all of these things. And they make Second Amendment like, it's your right to own a gun. But everyday kids are being killed and for guns. And you're like, well, they want to take your guns from you. So we've seen, and they'll tell you, they'll run a campaign and say, guns don't kill people. People kill people. But really, we're not coming away from that. Then you talk about health. We hear things like, if you take an hour walk every day, you can live healthy lives. But rather get medicated, right? So our generation is one of the most medicated ever. We medicate our depression, we medicate our suicidal thoughts, we medicate our everything. The body itself was designed to self-heal, but the body has not been given the room to remember that it can heal.
Yeah, our natural abundance is being extracted so it can be turned into money.
Money and machines.
So the conditions that produce ill health, ill physical health, ill mental health are deliberately created and deliberately sustained so that we can pay.
There are people profiting from this ineptitude
all the time. And if as long as we continue to participate, as long as we don't, let me backtrack a little bit. So last year when I was led to leave my job, the idea of just not working, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to work for a month or 2 or 3, and then it just kept going and going and going. I was like, God, what is happening? And God led me to this principle. It's captured in Matthew 6. If he dresses the lilies in beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? Yeah. Look at the sparrow, it neither labors nor spins. There is a natural abundance that is our birthright as God's creation.
Yes.
And when I eventually relaxed into the discomfort of not being self-sufficient, not being responsible for my life, I started to experience it. Case in point, this morning, well, I couldn't have driven it. I mean, I could have, but I didn't want to because it was a significant distance.
Yes.
But also, I couldn't have paid for the Uber. I don't have the money. I have no money. quite literally, I have zero money. Okay, no, not zero. I have 472 naira.
And this season, yeah, how you coping with the voices of love? Like, I know your siblings will be worried, possibly, and your daughter, she's not like, Mom, what are you going to do?
My daughter is looking at me like I'm the craziest lady my daughter is just like,
why did you resign?
Okay, babe. At this point, she's sort of accepted it. But I'm also thankful that she's seeing me surrender to the process, because she also saw me be somebody who defined myself by my success and by my material accomplishments, and she herself was becoming someone who defined herself by her access to privilege, right?
Yeah.
Right? And to teach her with my words that money is not that important is very different from her seeing me live in the reality of money is not that important. Do I have food to eat? Yes. How come? I can't tell you. When the jar is emptying, I'm like, God,
Cruise of oil.
Money, somebody will just send me money. So now I'm just like, okay.
And I don't necessarily, I can't imagine living in this reality.
It's hectic.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, maybe because I'm a man, so I have to always feel the burden to provide. But we're all addicted.
Yes.
We're all addicted to, we're addicted to just not, we can't even sit and not just be. There has to be a sense of, we're addicted to the next and the now. When is the next meal coming? When is the next, you don't want to be caught in this. So it's an unhealthy obsession, right? But that's the only way we know how. So I really think the world is yearning and begging for a new type of earth, a new heaven and a new earth, right? A new world where we can come away from the chaos of just letting our lives be exploited over and over again by systems and structures.
Yes.
And then we are now having to allow ourselves to lean into the flow of nature and, the abundance that God has created for us as sons and daughters. Everything men can lay claim to, they will. Now they're talking about going to space first. Who's going to go to space first and own it before anybody else comes there? I'm thinking
it's a greed.
The maker of the space has not built. You understand? I think Elon has this great idea of taking everybody, creating a new civilization in Mars, because I think it's the planet that feels more like Earth. So they're thinking about, and I'm thinking, let's renew and replenish what we have.
Yes, that is so important. The instruction: be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue. We've sort of negotiated our way out of the replenishment part. But the thing about replenishing the earth is that we are also replenished by it. And that principle exists everywhere. If you enter a space with the posture of generosity, I'm here to give, I'm here to serve, you will be taken care of. I know this for a fact now. I don't have anything to give you except what is in me.
And that's enough.
And that's love. And it is enough. It blows my mind how enough it is. It blows my mind. And it's so interesting that you said, I'm a man, it's different. Because it is. It is. Unfortunately, the meeting point of social programming and internal disposition makes it that men seem to struggle more with surrender.
Yes. And that's why spirituality is also limited. Because for a man, women are more spiritual. They're always seeking God, knowing God. For the most part, the man wants to pay the bill. So I really think it's affecting parenting, which is something I want us to come to, because we'll be wrapping up in a bit. But then again, today we're talking about parenting styles. We're talking about, you've been a mother for 12, 13?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you've been a mother. And honestly, you've written about it. You seem to have this very... but what have you learned from single parenting in the time you've done it? And how has that been for you?
Oh, forgiveness. 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 Forgiveness of myself. Forgiveness of my family. Forgiveness of her father. Forgiveness of our sister. Just forgiveness. It's so easy to become trapped in justifiable bitterness. It's justifiable because single motherhood especially, is a place where abandonment is the norm. You're just abandoned to you've brought this on yourself, so you figure it out. And nobody expects you to figure it out, so they don't help you.
Mm.
And if you do succeed in figuring it out, then they really don't help you. Because it's like, Shebi? And it would be so easy to take that to heart and make it personal.
Mm.
But again, the question of love and what love demands of us, I've been given the privilege, the responsibility, the blessing of shaping a whole human life. And it's hard and it's crushing, but it's the highest honor in existence.
Mm.
So everything that needs to be repaired in me to hold this honor properly will be repaired. And the only way that repair can continue to happen is forgiveness. I forgive myself when I fail. I forgive everybody who has failed me. I just forgive early, forgive often. And it's easier said than done until you start doing it.
Well, I just hope that single mothers out there are able to pick this as well, because forgiveness is a powerful message. I think for me, it's something God gave to us in advance, long before we needed it.
Yes.
It's I told someone one time, I've come to realize forgiveness is not ours to beg. It's ours to always acknowledge and receive. That's how endless the supply of forgiveness is on the side of God, like knowing we will need it. And self-forgiveness is not the easiest to do.
I think it might be the hardest, actually.
It's the hardest.
Sometimes.
And forgive the version of yourself who made those mistakes.
Yes. Yes. Because we don't get things right. And something that I'm discovering also is that our children are possibly the only people in the world who are equipped to regard us positively, almost unconditionally. So even when we fail them, if we forgive ourselves and repair the relationship, it will be as though it never happened that we failed them. It's incredible. The thing that entered my head just now is the Chronicles of Narnia, so I'm just going to say the Chronicles of Narnia. Aslan, I'm inclined to believe is a picture of Jesus. And I've always loved magic, magical realism, other worlds, doors into other worlds. And I think there's an element of, I look forward to discovering what that's about when I'm in eternity. Because I think there's an element of truth. I do, well, less and less now, but there are times when I'm walking past a wall and I'm like, I'm going to stand here and see if a door will just materialize. Because there is an unseen world, right? And if our guide through this world is love, our guide through the unseen world will be love as well. So I'm not anxious or worried about getting lost in the supernatural. You know how you play Jumanji and then suddenly bad things start happening? No, I feel like the way the Chronicles of Narnia unfolded, where the children were always safe, they always made it back home, is kind of how... Oh, now I've remembered another one, The Brothers Lionheart. That's another really good one, where it explores death. There are brothers, one of them dies and the other one follows, and they keep having these adventures where they discover more love, more friendship, more wisdom, and then one dies and the other follows. But every time they die, they just end up in a deeper world. So I suppose that theme of...
The Brothers what?
Lionheart.
Who wrote that?
Astrid Lindgren.
I'll look for that. I think that I like to look for things because I'm also exploring mystical spirituality. I love the idea of the surreal, the transcendence, right? That's what drew me into animation in the first place. I know that we're going to have you back. I think this for me this for me is the first of many friendship and conversation. I love everything you embody, the courage with which you show up.
Thank you.
And even to hold every season with the misunderstanding and the confusion that they may present, right? That you can go through your dark night of the soul. You called it the cliff. There was a word you used.
The clifftop.
The cliff top.
Shout out to
Yes,
this.
yes. Whether it's a cliff top or it's a valley deep, right? You show up with courage, owning every season with humility, with grace.
Thank you.
And I really think I know the word is better that you're here.
Oh wow!
It's better that you're
Such an
here.
incredible compliment.
Being the powerful voice you are, and even your daughter is blessed to have you. I don't know that sometimes when they move to teenagers, they can get turbulent. And somehow we stop being their best friends and start being the old voice.
Just
and
like
they wake up and realize that, stop being cool and everything else is cooler. But I think that being a single mom, holding space, when it's time to turn a new chapter, the return is what I would have called your last year.
Yes, actually, yes.
It's the return, but returning home. But thanks for blessing us with your story and your journey.
Thank you so much for having me and for such nourishing compliments. Thank you.
Thanks. Guys, I think this has been a journey for me and a fun story as well. From everything, the idea again for most of us is knowing and responding to the invitation of your soul. No success is too big to keep you away from returning to yourself. Never forget the power of forgiveness. Give to yourself forgiveness. Forgive the version of yourself that made the mistakes. But awaken yourself to the possibilities of the new. If messes are new every morning, why shouldn't you be?
Oh.
Right. So this is our wrap for today. Thanks again for being with us. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, share. Leave a comment. We'll be happy to look at that. Again, we're going to be talking about the community we're creating for conscious thinkers who are looking to create spaces and contribute and co-create for human flourishing. From me to you, love.